Okay, so now, what I wanted to talk about today was something that we can all relate to. And even though we've all had different experiences here in America, those of us that live here can certainly relate to what I'm saying. Now, lately, the climate in America has been racially charged, and rightfully so, given the exposing of a long time dirty secret that America had, and that is improper treatment of black and brown by the police. Excessive force, profiling, all of these things. Okay, now, this has brought out the feelings of African Americans and unfortunately has caused them to hate their country in many respects. Now, this is particularly troubling to me because African Americans have contributed a ton to this country. It's simply not the same without it. And I want to take you back to before my time and very likely before most of your times, so to speak. When we look at World War II, and we can even go further back than that, there were Black Americans, Italian Americans, Polish Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, particularly Japanese Americans, that fought on the side of the United States in World War II. In fact, Black Americans were literally climbing over one another, just hoping for a chance to get a shot at Hitler. And if anyone knows anything about the story of the Tuskegee Airmen, this was a bomber escort. And they literally had to be perfect in order to be given the privilege of having an opportunity to die for their country. And you know what? They were. We don't win the war without them. They were undefeated in bombing runs. Or the Harlem Hellcats, a group of black soldiers that were chomping at the bit to go lay it on the line for this country. You have to remember also our opponents in the war, World War II, was not just Germany. It was Italy and Japan. You have Americans like my ancestors, Italian Americans, that went and fought against Mussolini in the war. You have Japanese Americans that were subject to internment camps and still fought bravely in the European theater and were decorated as well. You talk about Germany. Eisenhower was the supreme commander of the Allied forces in World War II, European theater, and he was a German American. So when I see dissatisfaction amongst my Black American brothers and sisters, I understand it. And I do understand them showing their displeasure. But the fact of the matter is we all contribute to the gumbo. Each and every one of us do. And I know that everyone's experience in America is different. And we should all realize that, look, we have a segment of our population, the African American segment, that is hurting right now. If this was a segment of the population that was disabled, we would all step up and do something. Well, many people that are disabled have no choice in the matter. Certainly a person's background and skin color is not something that they can choose. If any American is hurting, we are all hurting. Each and every one of us, and something has to be done about it. Because as I said before, the contributions of Black Americans to this country are staggering. This also goes for our Hispanic brethren, particularly those of Mexican descent in the Southwest United States. You have to understand and remember that many of these people were indigenous to the region prior to others arriving in the West. Ultimately, The border crossed over them. They didn't cross the border. Many of them were here before we were. We've got to foster a better relationship with our neighbors. And we have to treat all Americans here, because that's what we all are, equally and fairly within the confines of the law, and all should be given the protection afforded to each and every one of us under the Constitution. Now, you can go back and you can argue if the framers, Washington, Jefferson, and these guys, if they wrote the Constitution with Black people in mind. Well, it doesn't matter, because they said all men, not white men, even if interpretations of said Constitution only related to white men at a certain point in time. The fact of the matter is, what was written by the framers is still true today. Any and all of us are American. My ancestors are from Italy and Ireland. I'm not going back to Italy or Ireland. I'm American. Our African-American brothers and sisters, their ancestors were from Africa. They're not going back to Africa either. We are American. This is where we live, and this is our home. And we got to do something about the inequities that exist. Black Lives Matter is being christened an organization. It is not. It is a concept that is long overdue. You're talking about African Americans fighting for respect in life and can't even get it in death. Black people dying and people acting like it's just no big deal. And it happens in disproportionate numbers to their peers in this country. The reason that I say that it's not an organization is because many times there are people that commit crimes in the name of Black Lives Matter, and therefore are associated with Black Lives Matter, and Black Lives Matter feels that stain for the actions of individuals who care nothing about the concept or the ideals of the movement, but are just looking to set the world on fire and watch it burn. All right, there is no hierarchy or stringent process for becoming a member of Black Lives Matter, because it is not an organization. It is a concept and a movement. And so for people to commit crimes in the name of the concept and then have this taken a step further and applied to anyone who is in favor of the idea that Black Lives Matter, yes, they do, is absolutely appalling. Now, again, that concept, Black Lives Matter, listen to the words of the concept. It says nothing about any other lives, makes no reference to, makes no comparison to. What it is saying is, can Black lives be respected like other lives are respected? Not more than. You have to understand, the movement is just trying to get it back to level for Black Americans, just trying to get it back to level. It's not trying to stand out or say that one life matters over another, just that if we're talking about all lives, then we damn well better include Black lives in that. Again, this is the problem that a lot of people have. They want to make something about them. Never once in the phrase Black Lives Matter were white, brown, yellow, police officers referred to as blue lives. They were not mentioned. This is not about them. Black Lives Matter says nothing one way or another in regards to them, because it's not about them. People take things, and unfortunately, the natural inclination for people is to make things about themselves. How am I affected? Where do I fit into this? You don't. We're just talking about bringing awareness to something, and inequity that has plagued this country certainly for my lifetime and certainly for decades before. Now, again, once again, we're getting to the core of what the problem is and the way that racial discussions, interaction seems to go sideways. If you say black anything, there is a segment of the population that think that that means anti-white. They have their reasons for it. Ultimately, as Malcolm X said, we're just talking about getting our own house in order, nothing more, nothing less, not to your detriment, but to our uplifting. And I don't know why any man worth his salt has a problem with that. I don't get it. Again, I'm Italian American and Irish. I have no problem whatsoever with black people standing up for their rights and asking to just simply be treated equal here in this country. And no one else should either. Listen, it's 2020. We're all Americans here. We're not going back to our quote unquote countries. It's not going to happen. This is our home. We have to make it livable. If you look what people have done, what our ancestors and predecessors have done in this country to make it great and to build it, you see the common thread is that they did it together. They worked together for a common good. When we do that, we're unstoppable. The economy, it doesn't matter who's in charge. It doesn't matter. That thing goes up and down, and in America, primarily up. And that's not due to whomever is in office in the White House. That is due to the great people of this country. This is the America that I love. I love America, always will. I'm a patriot. I was born here and I love it here. But when I say that I love America, that doesn't mean that I love the White House or whomever's in it or the government. What that means is that I love Americans like me that simply are hoping to make a better life for their families and to be treated the way that people are treated in a meritocracy based on their merits, what it is that they do, the effort that they give, the functional meaning of their contribution to society. Whether it's raising a family, whether it's digging ditches or being a computer programmer or being a hedge fund manager, a police officer, a fireman, a professional athlete, a movie star, a customer service representative, an insurance claims adjuster, whatever it may be. Those that are contributing to the greater good of this country. That's the America that I love. That's the America that I get emotional over. And that's the America that I want all of my brothers and sisters here to love. I know that many African Americans have had certainly a different experience than I have, and certainly a much more difficult experience than I have in this country. And that's not good. And we need to fix it. I also know that despite the problems that we have with everything that we've accomplished, America is the least racist nation on the planet. Now you may say, I said least racist. I did not say not racist at all. And if you think about it, that probably speaks to the shape that the world is in outside of America. Because see, they brand us as racists outside this country. And there's no attention brought to the racism that they exhibit in their own backyard. Okay? But again, We had to be the least racist nation in the world to accomplish what it is that we have accomplished. In all of these fields, they talk about American ingenuity. It's real. It's real. Not only are we hardworking, we are creative. We are inventive. The inventions attributed to Americans that still permeate society on an everyday basis are staggering. Whether it's the internet, which was in part invented by a black man. People don't know it, but it was. Or electricity, or peanut butter, also invented by a black man. These inventions not only permeate our lives as Americans, but they permeate the world's lives in their everyday existence. The automobile, the airplane, all of these things. Steam engine, internal combustion engine, all of these things. Jet engine, all of these things that we invented, refined, perfected, mass-produced, and made everyone's lives that much better. So I understand the frustration of those in America that didn't have the same experience that myself or other people did. Okay, and my experience was not without trauma, not without drama, for various reasons. But that's not important. What is important is that we have segments of our population that are suffering, and they are just as American as we are. Their lives matter just as much as ours do. So we need to fix it. We need to fix it so we can get back to working together and making this country what it is. Not only the greatest country in the world today, but the greatest country ever in the history of the world today. Not because of the government, not because of who's in charge, but because of the people, the individuals, all of us, young and old, black, white, red, brown, yellow, any and all of us. Us is what makes this country great. And so understand that your compatriots, your fellow Americans who may be from a different background than you and have different viewpoints than you, understand that this is okay. Different does not mean better or worse. That's not what it means. It just means different. We all add spice and flavor to the gumbo, every single one of us in our own way, culturally. We have all together created a new culture, that of American culture, which is rich and deep in so many ways and so unique. And I understand staying vigilant. I get that. I understand watching out for injustice, bringing it to light, seeking to correct it by being verbally loud or loud on social media, whatever the case may be, by any means necessary, right? Bring to light injustice so we can fix it, because we have a lot more to accomplish as Americans. We have a lot more to do for those that will come after us. We have to pay it forward as a country. And there's only one way that we can do that, and that is together as Americans, making our country great together. I'm Johnny Kane. This has been the Johnny Kane Podcast. Have a fantastic day and be what you are, a great American.